We're back. We're visiting with my colleague and good friend at the Center for Security Policy, the director of our Infrastructure Security Project. Tommy Waller is his name. He was telling us a bit about some testimony that he provided to the Secretary of Energy's Advisory Board recently about what needs to be done to protect our electric grid against not just enemies of this country who know that its vulnerability could take us down, but a naturally occurring phenomenon known as geomagnetic disturbances. And Tommy, we were getting into a little bit of complexity there with respect
Sure,
to the amount of surge that would be going through those power
sure.
lines. But the bottom line is what in terms of protecting the grid against this geomagnetic disturbance?
Yeah, the bottom line, Frank, is the current standard is transparently defective. And so for a 40-year storm, much less than the 100-year storm that they're supposed to be creating a standard to defend against, you can see that it's 10 times too low, which means for a 100-year storm, who knows how low it is. What we do know is that both solar weather and nuclear EMP produce effects that the current protection standard established for the grid, which, mind you, Frank, doesn't have to even be enforced until 2028, is transparently defective and dangerous for the American public.
Wow. So, Tommy, unfortunately, this is not the only standard that we've had problems with in terms of the industry. And you mentioned NERC and FERC. These are acronyms, of course, but they describe a system of essentially self regulation of the electric utility industry that has proven again and again to be insufficient to assure that a system that is generally very reliable is actually also very resilient as we need it to be. Talk a little bit about a lawsuit that one of our colleagues, Sergeant Command Sergeant Major Mike Mabee, has brought against this Federal Energy Regulatory Commission in this regard.
Sure. Yeah, Frank. So the standards that are established by the grid, as you said, they're made by the industry and they have to be approved by the federal government, FERC. And it's probably going to be kind of hard for your viewers to believe this, but it's true that if a utility breaks these critical infrastructure protection standards, we don't get to know who they are. Congress doesn't get to know. Public service commissioners don't get to know. Their identities have been concealed from public view for the last decade. And so what's happened, Frank, is Mike Mabee, a retired command sergeant major in the U.S. Army, an American hero, if you ask me, what he did is he filed 255 FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act requests, just to be able to reveal the identities of those companies that are putting us at most risk. And unfortunately, the federal government, FERC, denied the identities to the American public. So what did he do? He sued the federal government. And so we have participated, our coalition, in that lawsuit just last week, providing expert testimony from internationally acclaimed cybersecurity experts, physical security experts. And now it's up to a judge in a district court in Washington to begin to wade through this issue of a severe lack of transparency, which we think causes the utility industry not to care about security nearly as much as they should.
Tommy, this is incredibly important work. And again, most of it's unknown to the larger public and certainly unacknowledged or unheralded. But it's vital that it continue. We're excited about the forthcoming film, Grid Down, Power Up, that has been produced to address these and similar kinds of problems and begin catalyzing the American people into a movement to try to make sure that the utilities and their captured regulators are unable to continue to do what they've been doing to this point, which is essentially just blowing us off and ignoring these sorts of problems, if not actually quite substantially contributing to them. Talk a little bit about this film and how
Sure.
people can learn more about it.
Sure, yeah. And we must commend Petrea Patrick and David Tice, who have been working on this project for years. Grid Down, Power Up is the documentary. It's also the website if you search for it. And it chronicles the different threats to the U.S. electric grid. It interviews heroes like Mike Mabee, like Senator Bob Hall in Texas, who has been struggling for more than 6 years to get Texas to secure its grid. But the neat thing about this is the power up aspect. It's not just talking about the problem, but on the back end of the film and through the website, Grid Down Power Up, we have an Align Act campaign. It's a sort of campaign that allows someone to go online, put in their address, and actually be able to take part in the type of activism needed for that groundswell to get people in government and in industry actually to pay attention to security the way we think they need to in order to preserve our modern civilization.
So, how do people get access to that Align Act campaign, Tommy? Is it live at the moment, and
It is,
what's
yes. So
involved in actually taking advantage of that?
it is. So griddownpowerup.com is the website. So you would be able to sign up to be notified when the film does its official debut, which is coming soon. We will be showing it July 15th in Las Vegas at the Freedom Festival. In fact, we hope that the narrator, Dennis Quaid, will be present with us. But you don't have to wait until then. Sign up at Grid Down Power Up. You'll be notified when the film's available, and you can participate in the Align Act campaign.
And the thing that's so important about these Align Act campaigns is that individual citizens often ask, "What can I do?" and
Right.
often feel as though there isn't much, or that it will take a lot of work to figure out who you can impress upon your sentiments, your expectations, your demands. This program, Align Act, makes that very easy. And I'm so grateful to you, Tommy, to the Secure the Grid Coalition, to David Tice and the others on the team who have put all this together, not least Eric Berger of Align Act for
Right.
enabling us with basically the click of a mouse to get in touch with your elected representatives, your Federal Energy Regulatory Commission members, and others to raise hell about your invulnerability, the vulnerability of our grid. More on all of this, Tommy. Thank you so much for your time today. Come back to us again with updates if you would. Thanks to the rest of you for being with us for this edition of Securing America. I hope you feel better equipped to do that and that you will henceforth go forth and multiply.